Okay, we're ready. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order at 1 o'clock. I want to wish everyone here and everyone listening Merry and safe Christmas. Please treat this as probably the most fragile Christmas that we will have to date. I know people are getting very tired of hearing this, but this does, it looks like it's going to be the one that's going to give us the most problem for the longest. So we wish everyone well. The proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and made available on the internet. And could I ask the clerk to conduct the roll, please?
Thank you. Mayor Clarkson, are you present?
I am.
Deputy Mayor Wendover?
Present.
Councillor Armstrong?
Present.
Present.
Councillor Lambshead?
Present.
For staff, we have Donna Taggart, CAO Treasurer.
Present.
Evan Grieger, Director of Public Works.
Present.
Adele Arbor, Planner.
Present.
Ann Ruth, Deputy Clerk.
Present.
And Jesse Clark, Director of Corporate Services Clerk, is present. And I believe we'll also be joined by Sarah Dillamarter, Junior Planner, and Chris Jones, Municipality Planning Consultant.
Thank you. Now we're going to do the land acknowledgement and moment of reflection. We respectfully acknowledge that Trent Lakes and Peterborough County are located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations, which include Aldeville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Grandma, and Scugog Island First Nations. Trent Lakes respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they will continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now take a moment to reflect on these principles and our duties and responsibilities as members of council. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to remind council members of the obligation to declare any pecuniary interest that they may have, either now or at any time that it occurs to them during the meeting. I have a motion to approve the agenda, please. Deputy Mayor Wendover, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor. Motion is carried. Adopt the minutes of the regular council member minutes for December the 7th. Motion to adopt these. Councillor Lambshead, Councillor Franzen, do I see your hand? All in favor? Motion is carried. Now we have minutes and reports for committees and boards. Also Library Board, November the 12th, Economic Development Advisory Committee, December the 13th, Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee, December the 9th. One motion for all the minutes, please. Councillor Armstrong, Deputy Mayor Wendover, all in favor? Motion is carried. Liaison reports for council boards and committees. I'm going to ask council if there are any liaison reports from Economic Development, PRCAC, PSB, or the Library Board. Seeing none. We will now have Dave Reed, Chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, to share the Economic Development 2022 work plan. Please unmute your audio and share your camera and make your presentation. You will have 20 minutes. We'll ask council if all questions are saved until the end of the presentation. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, or I guess afternoon, Mayor Clarkson, and thank you for that and your time into council today. I'm actually honored to represent our committee members, including Mayor Clarkson and Councillor Armstrong, as well as Vice Chair Brickman, John Wright, Greg Bryce, Raina Taylor, and Jerry Forrestel in presenting what we put together for our work plan for the coming year. And I also, before I get started, wanted to recognize our EDO, Lynn Holtz, for all the work she's done, as well as Director Dylan Kosh for his assistance on some of the larger projects that have been transferred over into his purview. So again, thank you. This should be a fairly short and straightforward presentation today. I know you have the actual work plan in front of you, and we can reference it. But where I'm going to start off, and it's not going to take too long here, but we're going to just look at the accomplishments for 2021, because each one of these fall into the categories you're going to see on the upcoming pages. So if we go to panel number 3, please, Anne, in regards to our EDAC accomplishments in 2021, many of these things fall into mission statements and vision statements within the vision and mission statement with involves representing the corporation. And specifically in this case, Odenang Park and the green space or streetscape. I mean, to date, we have ordered the oversized picture chair for Odenang Park, obtained approvals for floating dock. We've also ordered the bicycle repair station. The pavilion and gazebo is agreed to on the design and location, and the recreation parks and culture are to pursue quotes in architectural and engineering design in regards to that. We've also included quotes for power and water at the park and have recognized some limitations on that, as well as although the playground is approved, there is a general design and location, but we recognize source funding and seeking grants and or donations will be part of moving forward on that item in 2022. Also in 2021, we identified the location and are seeking costs for the viewing platform and the shoreline, all items contained in the green space and streetscape master plan. And we'll be referring back to that again in the future. Panel 4, continuing some of the other accomplishments for last year that also carry on for this year. The First Impressions Community or FICE Exchange with Sharbot Lake is going to be part of our data gathering process that you'll see coming up here that's core to our functions in 2022, as well as passport for local dining and any resulting impacts that could bring forward in some of the events that we may be able to promote in 2022 and beyond. Trail Town items and the pivot of Trail Town, goal setting processes, and that really helped us this year thanks to Gabby Dragomir and the municipality supporting our committee going through that process. I think it helped in regards to clearly identifying some items, and I hope that the next few slides will absolutely clearly show that. Commitment to the 5-year strategic plan approval, and again, thanks to EDO Holtz and to Councillor Armstrong for their part and their role in that process. We definitely support that, and I know if you look at recent findings through the Rural Institute and OMAFRA, many of the things that we based our decisions on in 2020 and 2021 have been proven to be correct, and in fact accelerating specifically in areas of population growth and the need to attract and retain businesses and residents in our areas. And the last one, the Trent Lakes Facebook Business Network is part of a larger communications piece that we'll speak to momentarily. And it's something we can also rate successes on, and that's very important as we move into the next phases. Now, goals for 2022, we recognize 2022 is an election year. We have an opportunity right now to move forward on specific items that some of these are already partially committed to through master plans and ongoing services that have started to be provided or capital that has been expended towards it. But we recognize that if you look at the council for the remainder of this term of council and going into a new council, it's really important to provide good data. And that's something that we are looking for to provide advice. It is our role to provide advice to council when asked or if we get information from our community. And the intention, one of the primary intentions for 2022 is to be able to do that. So if you take, it's on the panel 5 there, but these are directly off of our work plan for 2022, the more detailed work plan. And I did this because I didn't want to read out the work plan to you. You'll all fall asleep. And secondly, it's not a great visual tool. It's difficult to read at a distance. The writing's small, and even we magnify it, the discussion component is not there. But if you were to look on the work plan, there are the 6 specific goals, and I'll just quickly mention them here and give you descriptions so that you can ask questions about them. The long-term economic direction, that's something that everybody's struggling with these days. And as Mayor Clarkson alluded to in her opening comments, we are coming to a very unique time, surprisingly considering what we've been through over the past 24 months. But long-term economic direction is going to be a critical factor. And in that, there's a number of components, and we'll get into that in our future panels here. Number 2 is community revitalization. We did do a FICE exchange, a community exchange with Sharbert Lake, and there was quite a few interesting things to be learned from that. I'll discuss that as well in here, but that's part of something that we've had to look for. It's not just in the Buckhorn area, it should be applied to everything within all the communities of the municipality of Trent Lakes. Number 3, retain and attract businesses and residents. This is a very interesting and very detailed process. There are an awful lot of balls in the air in regard to this, whether it's people moving out from the city, trying to create businesses in what they believe to be slightly more affordable areas, and the fact that there are detracting or obstacles that anybody that moves here from a residential perspective or a business perspective has to be able to manage or deal with. And that's something that EDAC has a direct involvement in and would like to be able to be part of the solution. Number 4, communications and advertising. This is the broad-based component that it comes from all different directions and certainly is something where the passage of information is really important. It's something that allows residents and businesses to understand what the operations of the municipality are and how the municipality can be assistive in making those businesses and operations better, and also meet the standards that we expect under the municipal corporate vision and mission statements. Number 5, we did keep this on here, the customer service model, and this was because it was identified quite strongly through 2020 and 2021. We recognize there's been many changes in this area already, and I can tell you personally, we do have people contact us. I've had many positive comments and interactions with the corporation in the past month or so. So obviously some of the customer service modeling or what the processes that are being undertaken through the municipality are having a positive effect. But it is on here because it was identified strongly as something that has an impact on the economic well-being of our communities and our municipality. And the last one is the work plan development and budget submissions. It's not just 2022, but it's a process. And it's a consultative process that I respect greatly to be able to, it's an honor to be able to have council require assistance and advice on things, and it's an honor to be able to be a part of that process to search for persons or whoever companies that can give us the information that's needed to pass on to council so you can make good decisions. Okay, panel number 6. This is what we've been able to do through the brainstorming component, really a simplified approach. There's 4 basic themes for 2022, and this I think will probably answer many of the questions. I know, I'm sure all of you have some in regards to the process and also some of the commitments to budget and finance in regards to some of these processes. But the themes are pretty easy to understand and they're fairly all encompassing. Number 1 is the completion of the green space and streetscape master plan. It is a master plan. It's been committed to this point, and we certainly appreciate that. This group, to coin a phrase from our vice chair, is laser focused on this completion. And we support going forward the RP&C budget items that have been properly moved under the purview of Dylan Kosh. This was an item that we muddled through last year, and I know the CAO, thanks Donna for your assistance through this process, was something we hadn't encountered before, where an advisory committee was suddenly being somewhat responsible for monetary components, which probably wasn't the right way to do things, certainly not in the world I'm familiar with, but we have sort of come to a very good process in this, and I think going forward when these happen, again, application of a budget component and the responsibility of the disbursement of those items will be coming from the appropriate authority or division within the corporation, and I think that's a great thing. Number 2, this is critical for council. The resource and data gathering component here. We have on our plan still a BRE, which is a business retention and expansion plan, but it is only ancillary to the master strategic plan, the economic recovery, tourism, and economic development plan that has been put forward through us and the EDO and a submission to budget from Councillor Armstrong. We also have the information from our first twice coming forward in January likely, and a number of other items that we think will be helpful in providing you with the best information that we can provide. And I think in any case where there isn't good information, I personally would like to hear about it from any one of you councillors. Just it doesn't have to be from council in general. I think that that's something that is critical, a responsibility on the part of EDAC, and we want to be able to do the best we can in providing all of you good information to make good decisions. Number 3, the development of the economic development strategy, and that is to support the 5-year economic development, tourism, and recovery plan. Again, as I alluded to earlier, there has been a lot of effort put in by resources much larger than what we have here in Trent Lakes or even within the county. And it does appear that many of the things that we're doing right now going forward are going to have a large impact on the ability for our communities to service and also be able to welcome new businesses and residents. So there'll be lots to be done on that. And we hope to be a continued part of it, and we definitely support it wholeheartedly. And number 4 is relationships with community partners. We have endeavored to do this since certainly I've been here, and I can speak with Neil, the previous Neil Buchanan, the previous chair, and other committees prior. Well, they may have been named differently. It's critical. Small communities, people sometimes wear different hats. We have to be able to work with one another. I've listed some here that are critically important. This is a personal, again, I use that word here, but a personal commitment of mine. And the committee has looked at this in general and in detail to a degree, reaching out to the BDTA, the new chamber, the BCC, Community Care, Lions, ratepayer and cottage association groups, our resorts and resort groups, and even Kindred. We have one of the, if not the fastest, one of the fastest growing charities in all of Canada, right in the municipality of Trent Lakes. And there's all kinds of resources there that we can look to. And we're lucky on the committee that we have components of almost all of those things represented in our committee structure. So I think if anybody has any questions just about the 4 themes here, I can move on to more specifics of the plan, but I've tried to simplify it as much as I can here. I don't want to take up all of your time. I know you have other submissions coming. These are opportunities that are in front of us right now, and I think we have a pretty good plan to move forward on. Next panel, EDAC plans for 2022. Just specifically on Odenang Park, we give full support to Director Kosh's budget submissions. We have worked as a committee to provide Dylan information and worked with convincing council to provide the budget necessary to fulfill those obligations within the master plan. And also, certainly, Vice Chair Brickman and myself as the chair have worked with Dylan recently through the budget process, and Dylan's done a great job in sort of bringing costs down and aligning some things within the structure of the park under his expertise that I think will benefit the community, not just from an attractiveness standpoint, but certainly through a pandemic, a time where people can go and be outside, whether they're just walking to the park or utilizing it as an afternoon sitting there. I think it's something that is more than relevant during this time and will serve the community well into the future. Currently, we're looking at installing the oversized chair and the bike repair station. They are 2 2021 purchases. We have locations for those, and both of those are items that have been identified where that include people that are, for example, cyclists tend to spend the most money in when they travel, which I found utterly amazing, but that is what we've been told. And people like to take pictures and they like to have memories. And what we're trying to do is create memories so when people come to Trent Lakes, when they leave and they bring pictures back home or their experiences and share them with others, those people will have the desire to come here and experience those things themselves. Council did ask EDAC to provide a weighted importance or an order of importance to the items within the Odenang Park and all of the items that are attached to the Streetscape and Green Space Initiative. The order is number 1, the gazebo / pavilion. It's in a process of engineer design and electrical supply. It is something that is multi-use. It will support some smaller events, be they music or gatherings when we're allowed to do that more safely in the future. And it will also provide shade and protection from the elements while still having a beautiful view of the lake, the park, and the town. Part of it is where its position is also provide transit way that keeps people moving towards the businesses within our area. Number 2 is the playground. The playground is important because it's been identified on 2 areas. One, there isn't a lot of that, certainly within the greatest population area of Trent Lakes, which is Buckhorn. And it has also been identified as a lacking item throughout the Trent Severn for boaters and travelers, and commentary of it, the possibilities of a small playground being something that would be attractive to people and their children when they come here and may make them stay longer by hours or by even overnight stays at the lock. We do recognize that the playground and its location near water may make some people a little bit uneasy. However, I was a parent of 5 now adult children. I think anytime you're near water, for that matter, anything of danger, I think there should be a lot more vigilance over your children. In the playground, there will be children in the park regardless. The playground will have a barrier as such between it and the water by a raised garden set and plants. And that's the intended purpose of that, not just for the beautification, but also to delineate the park area of Municipality of Trent Lakes and the water park area of Parks Canada. Number 3 are the gardens. Oh, sorry, Mayor Clarkson, I didn't see your hand there.
No, just saying 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes, okay. We do recognize, I forgot, the playground requires source funding, and that's something EDAC will try to do. Number 3 were the gardens, shoreline and gazebo and pavilion areas. I think this is standard. Dylan has costed this down very much and has a good handle on it, and we really support his vision. We also have a viewing platform from that plan, and we hope to get that through this year as well. It's small, not that expensive, and provides, again, memories and a place for people to experience the waterway at the Trent Severn. The floating dock has been approved, and Dylan will provide all the details on that, as well as everything on here in his submission, so I won't go any further into that. The only area of confusion for 2022, or coming from 2021, was over signage in the Trent Severn Trail Town, and we have addressed that. We have specific budget carrying over. Thank you, Donna. And I did go to the resolutions from Council R 2021 629 and 630 that both relate to items that relate to EDAC, and we will address the information in those in 2022 as it relates to signage, and particularly the gateway signs. There's some minor items here, ditches and entranceway cleanup as you come into the village. The garden sign at the library and benches along the sidewalk has been noted by a number of local area people as being a benefit for people walking throughout the village. We'll also look at other items such as Discover Trent Lakes, community bus tour, the passport to local dining, and decorative coverings for garbage and plant feed bins. And we may have source funding for just simple items like that. We're looking into it right now. We also know the CIP is likely to be continued. It's part of a committed to process through council, and we will look at discussing that further with council as we move into 2022. And finally, in closing, panel number 10, the world and how it operates has changed. It is likely we won't be going back. New pressures and issues require attention. New opportunities await. The Economic Development Advisory Committee is here to assist council in taking on these challenges and are prepared to work on items to provide the advice you need. From me personally, thank you, and respectfully for myself and all the committee, Christine Brickman, Janet Clarkson, Carol Armstrong, John Wright, Greg Bryce, Jerry Forrestal, and Raina Taylor. Thank you very much for your time and all of your support and assistance, certainly while I've been here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Dave. Have we questions?
No, just very good report.
Yes, Carol.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Maybe just a comment. First of all, great report, Dave. Thank you for putting this together. I think the most important slide was the one about the 4 themes, because that really speaks to the role that the advisory committee can play in supporting council. Just a caution, we basically have, as you know, 10 or 11 months to complete all of these things. It's a very, very ambitious work plan. And even though I'm a member of the committee, I would at the same time caution the committee to prioritize those things that are achievable within that time frame, so that at the end of this term, everybody can look back and say, we planned to do it, we did it, and there it is, and not have a whole lot of things left on the table. So just a caution. I think there's, even if you accomplished 50% of what's on this list, you would have a great year. So just a thought about prioritizing and doing the things that are most impactful for the community, as well as achievable during the time remaining.
Appreciate that, Councilor Armstrong. Thank you. I think if you look at the 4 themes, when you get into the specifics of any plan, you might have 20 things in that plan and you might only get 5 or 6 of them done. But I think if you look at covering the goal or the theme and being able to say you addressed them and there's been success in that, and the success could be simply, we've got a plan going into 2023. And I think in regards to data gathering, that's where we're really looking later on as not having an effect. Most of the other things are fairly achievable this year. It's a matter of obviously budget, but we'll see. I certainly hope we can get a lot done in the time where, and I know it's gonna, we get into certain seasons within council as we move along too. So thank you very much. I always appreciate your input. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Lamson.
Yeah, it's nice to see that we're going to focus on the CIP and the streetscape green space plans, because it's important to get through those. We're a long way into that, and it's nice to see that we're going to focus on some of those items, because open spaces are very important. It's obvious from many of the surveys that were done in this municipality that open spaces are very important to our ratepayers. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Lansett. I think I just want to comment on that. I think the one thing I would say to that is there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to work on or share information, work on items with the PRCAC as well, because I do think when you look at what we represent in this this municipality, a large part of it is that wellness and natural outdoor living experience. So when you combine that with people gussing up their properties to attract people, I think we might be a little better off going forward. Anyone else?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. You knew this was coming, Dave.
Always.
I guess the first one is the floating dock. I'm glad to see that that is moving. There are 3 more companies right now interested in putting a boat in, and La Boat is still a big player. It would come with some sustainability. In the surveys that are being done, Trent Lakes, as well as everything else in the city, the Kawartha Lakes or Peterborough County, wherever, we're kind of noted as being a retirement community heading more and more in that direction all the time. However, if you actually look at the reality of Trent Lakes, we don't fit into that mold. And we've got to be careful that category that has been foisted upon us does not influence our way of thinking. For instance, we've gained 5 more kids to the public school just since October. So instead of starting with 54 kids a number of years ago, we're now up to 180. Now, 180 kids represent a lot of young families. As we get an aging population, that's where you see the tradespeople coming in, because if the people who are aging have enough support from the people to do their driveways, do their electricity, do their house cleaning, do all of those things, we can stabilize this community more than what the statistics say. And these young families moving in are the very people who are going to make their livelihoods by making sure the top 10 are properly looked after. I'm glad to see that the playground is still maintaining a priority. I'm disappointed that it's not actually in funding, that it is dependent upon donations. But it represents the fact that the community of Buckhorn, which is so far ahead this year, but last year, is finally taking some steps to keep the people who visit in the municipality. So that's pretty much the notes that I've put down. And anybody else want to comment on those? Feel free.
I would just like to comment just briefly. The floating dock, what's so important about that is we need a footprint, and the floating dock would be a footprint on the TSW. We have the park, but if you want to have a footprint, the floating dock is the footprint, and that is a footprint to what is not just a recreational, but also a commercial waterway. And that makes it a little bit different than other waterways within the municipality. In regards to the demographics here, certainly those of us that I can see all on screen here, and myself included, would certainly fall into the first component of that we are probably on the, a certain side of that demographic. But there is change here. The growth of the school is obvious. And if you look at, we have more business here than we may realize for a rural area. And some of it is very strongly supported business. And I think that in itself lends a good future. The real problem to tackle is going to be getting people to be able to afford to live here and support the businesses and services within or around our communities. And that is part of the reason we have the study going forward, or hopefully. Carol, thank you for that submission. And I think that we will get information that will support that, Mayor Clarkson. So thank you.
Okay, do we hear any other comments? Thank you very much, Dave. Well done. I can't even imagine the time you put into this.
Motion to receive.
But Jessie has her hand up.
Through you, I think we're looking for approval for the work plan, so if Councilor Armstrong is willing to also.
Sure, so motion to receive and to approve the EDAC work plan as presented.
And Councilor or Deputy Mayor Windover is going to second that. All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you, Council. Very much appreciated. All the best and
Thank you,
Merry
Dave.
Christmas.
Hope your knee is better.
It's getting there.
Bye, Jim. We'll now have Bob Taylor Vasey, Chair of the Parks, Rec, and Culture Committee, to share his work plan. Please unmute your audio and share your camera. You will have 20 minutes.
So you can see me and you can hear me?
Yep.
I just want to alert the clerk that in the gallery, it has been some distortion of sound and the screen has frozen a little bit. Well, thank you, Mayor Clarkson, and good afternoon to members of council, staff in the virtual gallery. Next slide. Thank you for the opportunity to review the 2022 PRCAC work plan. I'll work through a high-level overview of the work plan, not in a lot of detail, and relatively quickly with one goal, cultural resources management in more detail than the rest. And this work plan builds and reinforces our vision of accessible and affordable opportunities to benefit all of the residents of Trent Lakes. Next slide. Some of our goals carry over from 2021, and I will identify them. Some follow the Parks, Recreation and Culture Master Plan that was approved by Council. All of them consider potential demands on staff and timing of activities in an election year, and we strive to set a good balance of what is achievable.
We've lost you.
Next slide. There are 8 goals, 3 touching on governance and 5 on parks, recreation, and optimized governance model, sustainable financing, and work plan development and budget submissions, and the remaining 5 that are planning are open spaces, cultural resources management, truth and reconciliation, boat launches, and community hubs. Next slide. We'll identify by goal what we want to achieve, key milestones and outcomes, and the timing of each. Next slide. Now, the first goal is optimized government. An optimized governance model. A volunteer management policy is critical, and we will continue to provide input to ongoing effort. The revision and/or if subcommittees need to continue to function. An example of it, in terms of reference, revision is the Trail Subcommittee, and of continuance, the new Buckhorn Sports Pad Subcommittee. Both are carryovers from 2021. Next slide. The second goal is sustainable financing. And as with volunteer management, we will continue to provide our input into the development of a municipal process of soliciting sponsorships and engaging in various partnerships, including identification, negotiation, and implementation of either sponsorships or partnerships in collaboration with staff. And this too is an ongoing activity. Next slide. Open Spaces Network. In support of this goal, we will provide input as requested to the consultants undertaking the open spaces study commissioned by council. In addition, we will develop the content for educational materials, whether by brochures or on the municipal website, in collaboration with staff. Educational initiatives are also a carryover from 2021, and both of these should be completed by the end of Q3. Next slide. The next goal, truth and reconciliation, is both timely and significant. It focuses on education and awareness, and we will work with staff to develop a plan to heighten awareness of Indigenous culture, coinciding with Truth and Reconciliation Day 2022. Next slide. Boat launches is another outcome of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan. It is targeted for completion by the end of Q2, and it includes both the development of minimum standards for boat launches, as well as potential enhancements on a site-by-site basis. Next slide. Community hubs is yet another outcome of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan. We will kick this initiative off at the beginning of Q3 with a project plan ready for review by the incoming council after the election. Next slide. I'd like to recognize the initiative of the clerk's office in including this goal in our work plan and any other with a disciplined approach. This ensures that our planning cycle is structured and financial implications are identified for the 2023 budget. And of course, it includes quarterly reviews with council, the design of a 2023 work plan, and input into the 2023 budget cycle. And 2022 will be our first opportunity to test this process. Next slide. Now, finally, the fourth goal of the 8, cultural resources management. Archival records management is an area that will be a major thrust for us. The need for archival records exist in the municipality by means of a comprehensive inventory, and also including reference to archival records not found in Trent Lakes. It will recommend a dedicated space and the best home for these records and management standards that are needed, and it will be completed by the end of Q2. A detailed project management plan, which actually was appended to the agenda, has already been launched. A fundamental to heritage initiatives is a heritage bylaw, and we will be working with planning and development and the clerk's office to develop a bylaw for consideration by council also by the end of Q2. this process is highly regulated by the Heritage Act. Next slide. The need for a resident survey is really quite paramount. What do our residents want? What do they need? Heritage plaques, heritage displays, the opportunity to have their property designated as a heritage property. We'll have the result of that survey also by the end of the second quarter if we can design and issue a survey by the end of the first quarter. And then we need to identify all the steps needed to mount a plaque or create a heritage property register of all designated and potentially designated heritage properties and the designation process to make all that happen, or develop displays that highlight the heritage of Trent Lakes and contribute to a growing provincial imperative, and that is cultural tourism, and develop the kind of educational materials, maps, brochures, articles that we will need. It is possible, but also ambitious, to complete this objective before the end of the third quarter, with implementation to commence in 2023. And that concludes our overview of our work plan. If there are any questions, I'd be only too happy to field them.
Thank you very much. That was well done. Have we got questions from council? I know. Councillor Armstrong has a question.
I'll fill the void here. Thank you. Great presentation, Bob. Glad to see that we're moving ahead on some of the priorities from the work plan, specifically open spaces and boat launches. And clearly we have a void in our municipality regarding heritage. So good to see we're doing some work on that. I seem to be issuing cautions today. I'm not sure why, but the one caution is around a survey on heritage. I think that needs to be negotiated with staff in terms of time, because I'm a little fearful we will be approaching survey fatigue in our municipality. We just had the short-term rental one. We will be going into some public consultation on the rink. So whether or not a survey on heritage can be fit into that reasonably, I think needs to be discussed. So with that one exception, I think the rest of the work plan looks really good and is achievable.
Madam Mayor, to Councilor Armstrong, I agree with you about survey fatigue, but I want to reiterate that never in our entire process have we not sought the advice of staff on how to proceed. So I appreciate the suggestion of talking with them, but I can guarantee you that if a survey is anticipated and it will not it'd be overkill, then we'll have to rethink it. The reason for the survey is that in the 2020 survey, we just did not mine deeply enough into people about a lot of things that relate to culture and heritage. And we felt there was a need to do that. But this, as my mother would say, we'll play by ear a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment about the cultural resources management plan. I think it's a huge undertaking, and I am sure that with your leadership, Bob, I think we will get through that. I think it's a very large amount of information. Our archival records are very important to all of this municipality, and a heritage bylaw is something that we've been missing, and I think it's time we have something to preserve some of our heritage features in this municipality, because we have a lot. Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Lambshead, one of the positions in developing the work plan was to understand that what we wanted to do fit the availability of staff. And this particular one, the heritage bylaw, will require considerable effort on behalf of planning and development, particularly because staff are an expert in that field. And so you will see that that particular initiative won't start until probably the end of the first quarter. And you're right, there must be 50 different activities in this work plan for heritage. And we've phased it so that we're doing them in a timely, sequential, realistic fashion. So thanks for your comment. We'll watch that one.
Okay, and I think I have one last comment too. I think the cultural part in this municipality is very, very complicated because of our geographic locations. The Greater Harvey Historical Society, which at one time maintained the archives for the southern part of the township, is now maintained totally out of Kinmount. They're in there for the summer and they're in the Galway Hall for part of it. But their emphasis is in that area, which only makes sense because that's where their heritage is coming from. So I think the idea of getting the entire township under one umbrella is probably wishful thinking. I think that umbrella has to make allowances for the fact that we are 3 different zones. We have some similarities, but we also have many, many differences that have to be recognized. I'd like to see them maintained by one, but I would like to see their uniqueness maintained.
Would you like me to respond to that? It would be absolutely. The 3 different former wards have their own uniqueness. What we would be doing here is trying to offer the residents of each of those different wards what it is that they would look for to help them to appreciate and honor the heritage of their area. So there'll be common projects that will cover all 3, and then individual projects that might be within the particular purview of one particular former ward. But we will not lose sight of the fact that we're all doing this in the greater good of the heritage and the memory of Trent Lakes as a whole.
Councillor Branson?
Yeah, I'm really happy that, Bob, you mentioned the Indigenous component, because that's a very big component of the culture of this area, and that shouldn't be lost either. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you very much for that. And if we could have a motion to, Deputy Mayor Wendover, to accept the report. And a seconder, please. Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? Thank you. Now, today we don't have a statutory public meeting, and we don't have a report because of that. Presentations? No. Delegations. We'll now have a delegation from Emma Drake and Dave Pond regarding application for ZBA Fortescue Lake. Thank you, Emma. Proceed. You will have 10 minutes, and please, council, keep your questions till the end of the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to members of council for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Emma Drake, and I am an intermediate land use planner with DM Wells Associates Limited, and I'm here today with our client Dave Pond with respect to item 10.4.2 on your agenda, which pertains to the zoning bylaw amendment which we have submitted with respect to Mr. Pond's property on Fortescue Lake. To recall for council, Mr. Pond owns a large property over 75 acres, which is currently zoned rural in the township zoning bylaw. And we've submitted a rezoning application requesting to rezone only about 1.2 acres, which is located at the shoreline, changing the zoning from rural to shoreline residential private access. And the purpose of the application is to enable Mr. Pond to construct a cottage on this portion of the property, which would be accessed via a private road. And it's really the private road access that has triggered the need for the rezoning itself. So to confirm for council, we are not requesting any zoning relief with respect to setbacks or lot coverage. Any development of the land can occur in accordance with the shoreline residential private access zone provisions. So it's really just the rezoning from rural to shoreline residential private access. Council will recall that there was a previous public meeting on this application, which was held in August of this year, and there were some concerns raised at that time. So council resolved that the application be deferred pending input from the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Natural Resources, information on the private road access review by Fortescue Lake Association, input from Peterborough Public Health, and confirmation on the shoreline road allowance purchase. You do have a report from staff further on in your agenda addressing the above. However, I did just want to also confirm that input has been received from the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, confirming that they do not have concerns with the application. And again, to recall, we did have an environmental impact study prepared for this application, which indicated no negative long-term impacts. And this was also supported by the peer reviewer who peer reviewed the EIS. There are mitigation measures in the EIS, and they can be implemented through a development agreement to ensure that they are upheld when the actual construction occurs on the property. We have also provided information to staff with respect to the private road access. So access to this property is through a series of right-of-ways. Some of those right-of-ways are actually owned by Mr. Pond, and he provides access to others. Some of the other right-of-ways are owned by others with access granted to Mr. Pond. However, we have been able to locate the deeds and the associated documentation that confirm that he does have legal access to this portion of the property. We have also filed a complete shoreline road allowance application, which was actually filed at the same time as the original rezoning, and it is with staff. I have also been told by staff that confirmation has been received from Peterborough Public Health expressing no concerns. I do understand in review of the agenda that there have also been some concerns subsequently raised by Mr. Maynard, who owns the adjacent property, with respect to the archaeological assessment report that was prepared. And we have been in touch with Northeastern Archaeological Associates who completed this assessment. They did confirm that portions of Mr. Maynard's property were inadvertently included in their report, but they have revised their report. And this has since been provided to Mr. Maynard and to staff. But to confirm, the conclusions of the archaeological report remain the same, and there's no impact on the development. There's just been some clerical revisions made to that assessment. So to provide just a little bit more planning background, the provincial policy statement and the growth plan do permit resource-based recreational uses on rural lands. And this proposed development of a cottage on these lands would represent an appropriate resource-based recreational use without conflict with the cultural or the natural heritage policies set out by the province. That said, we would like to request that council direct staff to move forward with the zoning bylaw amendment at staff's earliest opportunity. And I am available to answer any questions should there be any. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Do we have questions? Okay, seeing none.
Where is it?
Could we have a motion, please? Yes, motion to receive. Thank you. And you're going to second that? Councilor Lamson, all in favor? That motion has carried. Now we're going to have a delegation from Neil and Annette Maynard regarding the same application. Please unmute your audio and share your camera. You will have 10 minutes.
Yes, hello. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, we are.
Catered, Madam Mayor and members of council, we certainly appreciate that you've taken the time today with all the Christmas activities I'm sure are going on. Annette and I are both here, and we mainly registered to follow the procedures, and we have listened to what Ms. Drake has said, and we've been working with Dave Pond, had discussions with Chris Jones, and kept in communication with Carol Armstrong and the Cottagers Association. And as what we're hearing that Ms. Drake has presented, we have no objections at this time.
Okay, do we have questions? Do we have a motion? Yes, Councilor Lamson.
Motion to receive by delegation.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Windover, you're going to second that? All in favor? Motion is carried. Past staff reports, Public Works, Evan Krieger. community safety zone at Galway Road.
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. Through you, Mayor, to members of council. Before you is a Public Works report regarding the implementation of the community safety zone on Galway Road. At the October 19th council meeting, council passed a resolution directing staff to report back with a detailed recommendation on designating a community safety zone on Galway Road. When I completed my review of different municipalities and areas that have implemented community safety zones, I found that one, we did not have a traffic bylaw currently at the municipality of Trent Lakes. This would help assist us in having not only this community safety zone, but other speed limits all in one place. I also found that they have created for these community safety zones a warrant process. I believe this would be important to implement, as well as this gives us sort of standards that we can see where to implement these community safety zones moving forward. So there's sort of a standard for different areas when various residents or groups request this. So the warrant process, they would include specifically designated areas, and they would also look at road safety, any histories of collisions, and also look at speed, average daily traffic, number of pedestrians, and truck traffic as well. I will be here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions? Yes, Carol?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Evan, what other traffic calming actions could be taken besides declaring this a community safety zone? It was clear from the original report that this would not be a high priority area for a community safety zone. It had a low enforcement rating. In the last 5.5 years, there are only 3 speeding infractions. So that the data suggests that it's not necessarily warranted, although I think we all want to improve the safety of it for our residents. So back to the question of what other traffic calming measures could be taken.
My thought is because the current speed of Galway Road when you're coming from 121 is 60 kilometers an hour. I would look at lowering the speed limit within that community safety zone to 40 kilometers an hour. I find sometimes when you drop from 60 to 50, people don't necessarily acknowledge or reduce their speed accordingly. But if it's a larger drop, then they'll be more encouraged to reduce that speed. So I would include that within the traffic bylaw, would be a reduction of that section to 40 kilometers per hour. And then just because, as you said, there may be other factors that don't necessarily warrant a community safety zone in that area, because it is a community center. That is one of the first things, that if it's a community center, automatically it warrants a community safety zone.
And if I can just build on that, what about, I don't know the technical term, but bumps in the road? You know, in some Caribbean countries, they call them sleeping policemen. I don't know what we call them here. So, you know, bumps that people have to slow down to get across.
Through you, Mayor, to Councilor Armstrong, the one concern I see with having the bumps in the road is it becomes a maintenance issue for our snowplows during snow removal, and may actually lead to a greater hazard than actually slowing the speed down. That's why I would like to look at, I really believe that the 40 kilometer an hour would cause people to slow down. I know in other areas where they've dropped the speed to 40, it really does make you watch your speed and want to slow down. Instead, if it's just a 60 to a 50 and you're going along at, say, 70, then you think, oh, well, you know, I'm still only 20 over, which not necessarily good, but people think that's okay, right? So if it's 40, then you're 30 over, and that's like, whoa, sort of thing. So that's the thought process. And I know the speed bumps in certain urban areas, I know in the city of Toronto and stuff, they utilize those in different areas. And I know even in the city of Peterborough, they've done those, but for a rural road like that, I don't believe that it would be a good idea to have those there.
No, good answer. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Councillor Lamson?
Yeah, I really do like the idea of having a traffic bylaw. I think we need to have some standards that we're going to follow everywhere we go. And I think that's something that we should have. So I agree with that item on your recommendation.
Wonderful, thank you.
I agree very much with you too.
So you're agreeing with what
Yeah, definitely.
Terry said? Even I think when the new bill comes up there, the top may be taken off that bill too. So that's going to give some relief.
Absolutely.
Can we have a motion to accept, or do we want to make a recommendation to, yes, Councilor Lamson?
I would like to make a motion that reads much like what is recommended, that council
Yeah.
receive the report from the Director of Public Works regarding community safety zones on Galway Road for their information, and further that council direct staff to develop a traffic bylaw that would provide guidelines for implementing community safety zones in Trent Lakes, and further that council defer the implementation of the community safety zone on Galway Road until a traffic bylaw has been developed and additional traffic calming measures have been implemented.
Okay,
Second.
let's deal with that one now.
Oh,
You're going
I
to
would
second
second
that?
that, yes.
Okay, all in favor? Now, Carol, did you want to do one
Nope.
specifically about the 40 kilometer? Not now?
Nope.
Okay, then we're going to get a motion. We've got a motion for
Yeah.
that. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Recreation facilities, fire and emergency services, none. Building and planning, Adele, are you there? Hello, Adele. Hello, Adele. We will come back to Adele. Chris Jones, are you there? This is for the application ZBA for Pond, Fortescue Lake.
Yeah, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Why my screen's so dark, but it is me. Madam Mayor and Council, this is a status report on a zoning application file 2020-30. Applicant name is Pond. Land's located in part of lot 6 and 7, concession 18, geographic township of Cavendish, with shoreline frontage on Fortescue Lake. No doubt council is familiar with the application. We had the public meeting in August, and you just heard from two delegations, one from a neighboring landowner and one from the applicant and their planner. The purpose of this status report, again, we had the public meeting, and council would have my previous report of July 27th. And again, the purpose of the public meeting, that's a large acreage, zoned rural. The applicant is looking to zone just over an acre of that shoreline frontage in the area shown in figure 1 with the arrow to an SRPA. And of course, that would enable the construction of a recreational dwelling. At the August 27th meeting, or sorry, at the August 13th meeting, council deferred a decision on the application, provided a resolution 2021-506, and in that resolution, council articulated a number of requests and directions to staff that related to input from the ministry with respect to the cold water lake issue. Fortescue Lake is a cold water lake, meaning it provides optimum habitat for lake trout species. Additional information with respect to access to the proposed lands to be rezoned and development site. Opportunity for further review by the Lake Association. Comments from Peterborough Public Health, as well as sort of a status update on the SRA. So what I've outlined in my status report, firstly, is my discussion with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, specifically Mr. John Urpana. For many years, John has sort of been a point person at the Kingston Ministry office, together with a couple of other staff. I find these folks, again, in my 20 odd years as a planner in this part of the world, I find them always very responsive and available to discuss cold water lake issues and lake impacts. But the through that discussion with Mr. Arpana, yeah, he reiterated or sort of reinforced again the ministry policy or position as it relates to development on existing lots of record. And that is that essentially existing lots of record are still entitled or enabled to construct in accordance with the applicable provisions of the official plan and zoning bylaw. And to that end, our own official plan at section 5110.8A, which is shown in italic, refers to existing lots of record which exist on the date of the official plan are still entitled to a building permit. Again, subject to the greatest setback achievable for existing lots of record on lake trout lakes in order to minimize impacts on water quality. And so again, that I think was a sort of a key issue, a key concern of the association. I think this particular issue, if we were talking about or what was being proposed was a plan of subdivision, a plan of condominium, even a consent application for lot creation, I think the nature of the ministry comments would be different for a lake trout lake. But in this case, again, the recognition or allowance to enable somebody to construct on an existing lot of record is something that the ministry has always supported. Again, going back to the very, very early days of protection of lake trout lakes. Just going to move on then to the issue of access. And if we scroll through to, I think it's Appendix 1 in my report. There is an Appendix 1. Is there no figures attached to that?
It's after Appendix 2, actually.
There it is. Yeah. Okay. If we can, if you can turn your head sideways, okay, that's even better. So what I've tried to do here, and I thank Emma for providing some assistance in just clarifying the nature of legal ownership and right of ways and existing roads. But essentially what I've tried to do here for members of the public and council's understanding is just to illustrate what really is an existing access to the lands proposed to be rezoned. So you can see it with that yellow crosshatch, that's the area that's proposed to be rezoned. And then going to the opposite side of the page, starting in with that green line, which comes in over the Municipality of Highlands East, extends to the pink line, which is the fire route on the road allowance, which connects to the red line, which are lands in other private ownership, but to which Mr. Pond has a registered right-of-way, which connects to the green line, which is the existing private road on the pond lands themselves, then extends across the pond lands onto Crown land, before we come back to a blue line, which again is now back on the pond lands, and that particular stretch of blue line is also subject to an easement in favor of others. So that again, that illustration was to help address the nature of access to these lands. And just again, continuing with my report and speaking to the council resolution, the review by the Lake Association themselves, and Lake Association through Mr. Fairhart was provided with the complete application materials at the time of the August public meeting. And I, at the time that I was preparing this report, I followed up with him again, and he has been engaged in communicating with staff in terms of the status of the application. The other member of the association, and of course the abutting landowner, is Mr. Maynard. Council heard from Mr. Maynard just earlier in the delegation. I actually had an opportunity subsequent to the public meeting. I was able to get down and see these lands. And in fact, the day I was out, Mr. Maynard was there and was actually able to walk me around. I think I've got a pretty good sense of direction, but I will tell you, I got down into this part of the world and I got turned around pretty fast. So it was good that Neil was able to walk me around and specifically some of his concerns that related to some discrepancies in the way that lot lines and boundaries had been illustrated on some of the initial materials. He was sort of able to walk me across the lay of the land and show me. Again, we have the benefit of recent surveys by virtue of the shore road allowance application. And so I was certainly able to understand where he was coming from with respect to that issue. And that particular issue was in fact addressed by the applicant, providing a revised building envelope sketch. And they prepared that sketch using the draft reference plan that had been prepared for the shore road allowance. So my understanding is that was provided to Mr. Maynard, and that helped to satisfy that issue or discrepancy. Council's resolution also spoke to Peterborough Public Health comments, and we are in receipt of comments from Peterborough Public Health on October 21st, confirming they had no objection to the proposed rezoning. And lastly, the issue of the shore road allowance. And I am advised by the clerk that the application is received. The applicant has done their part as far as the submission and the fees. And then, as council is aware, the process of conveying, closing conveying the shore road allowance is subject to a bit of a time process or sequence by virtue of the number that get processed and the relative timing. But it is the applicant has done their part with respect to the purchase or acquisition of the shore road allowance. That is the summary in response to, again, the earlier issues raised by council. I am supportive of the proposed amendment. It is, we have considered and approved a number of these types of amendments where, again, the major constraint here is that the SRPA zone was specifically created to sort of identify existing lots of record on private roads and allow or recognize development rights on those lands. Whereas within rural parcels with access only by private roads do not have that same opportunity. And so the remedy here is to, again, zone a small portion, essentially the equivalent of what would appear to be just another shoreline parcel without creating new lot lines, and extend or allow that ability or that authorization to construct a recreation dwelling specifically on that parcel. My recommendation again to council is to provide staff with direction to come back with an amending bylaw. That amending bylaw, as per the earlier request of the applicant, would be appended with a holding provision, and that holding provision would be contingent upon a future application for a site plan agreement. And that site plan agreement essentially would formalize recommendations that came out of the original EIS report that was done for these lands, as well as the archaeology report, as well as, again, formalizing that building location and building envelope. That's my report. Madam Mayor and members of council, if there's any questions, feel free.
Okay, do I hear questions, see hands? Councillor Lampson?
My comment actually was answered, I think, right at the very end there, that the site plan agreement will reflect the conditions of the EIS. That you said it will, so I think that relieves my concerns. And Emma Drake also said that they are not at this time applying for any reliefs of the conditions of a shoreline residential private access lot. So that means they'll be 30 meters from the water, that their setbacks are all in place. Thank you for your report.
Okay, so you're going to make the motion?
I will make a motion that we receive the report and that direct staff to prepare the requisite zoning bylaw amendment for council's review and consideration.
And do we have a seconder, and a seconder with comment? Do I see your hand?
Just a comment, if I may. Thank you. I thank you, Councilor Lamstead, for bringing that forward. I think the major concerns that were brought forward, and there were lots of them in August, were related to both environmental impact on the lake and road access. And it appears that Road access has been addressed through your report, and any concerns over impact on the lake itself as a cold water trout lake anybody would have an opportunity when that site plan comes forward and back to council. So just confirming that site plan will in fact be coming back to council.
Okay, and you want to second that, Deputy Mayor Windor? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Now,
Thanks.
are you here at this point for the community improvement plan? Still don't have Adele. Sarah? Yep.
I see she's
Through you,
on.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, you're back.
Would you like to? I'm here. Would you proceed?
Yes, go ahead. But you come and you go. And you're gone.
Okay, thank you. And you can hear me, right?
Yep.
The report in front of council today is regarding the community improvement plan. It's been followed plan for and it's time date of the and time for review and update. Typically, community improvement plans are reviewed every 5 years. Measured the plan reviewed, access improvement to the plan, refresh the plan, and review the effectiveness of current programs. There has been $30,000 included in the 2022 budget to undertake this work, and therefore it's being recommended that council receive the report for information purposes, that council support the existing improvement programs as outlined in the IP, and continue to and that occurring in fact programs and on brought for extend for council.
You have really bad connection. You're gone, Adele. Have enough of people read this report to comment on it?
If you'd like that, Mayor, I would go ahead and make a motion as stated here that we receive the report, that council support the existing improvement programs as are outlined in the CIP plan and continue to remain in effect, and further that a bylaw to extend the CIP programs be brought forward. And finally, that staff prepare terms of reference to undertake a 5-year review and update to the existing community improvement plan.
Well done. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Councillor Lampshead. Adele, did you hear that and are you okay with it? Okay, all in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, Sarah, let's see if we can have any better luck with you. Consent application for B125 and B126, creation of new lots.
Through you, Madam Mayor. On today's agenda, there are 2 municipal appraisal forms for consent files B-125-21 and B-126-21, submitted by the owners Thomas Bertalin and Taylor Mucci. The subject land is located at 130 Ledge Road. The application does not conform to the Trent Lakes official plan nor the provincial policy statement, as the lot creations are proposed to occur in an area of known aggregate resources, limestone bedrock, as indicated in Schedule C of the Trent Lakes official plan, which was not addressed in the county's preliminary severance review. Section 5.1.21 of the Trent Lakes official plan states that no sensitive land uses, as defined in Section 5.1.28 as residences, daycare centers, educational facilities, and health facilities, should be permitted to be located on lands identified as mineral aggregate resources for limestone bedrock on Schedule C. Since the entirety of the two proposed severed parcels consists of limestone bedrock, and the intent of the severance is to create two buildable residential lots, this consent application does not fulfill the intent of the Trent Lakes official plan. It is the intent of the official plan that new or expanded mineral aggregate operations locate within these areas as mineral aggregate resources on Schedule C. Duty Mountain Quarry is proposed to the north of the proposed lots, and a small quarry exists to the south. Both of these quarries are located more than 500 meters away from the proposed severed parcels, as per official plan policy. However, Section 2.5.2.4 of the provincial policy statement reads, quote, "Mineral aggregate operations shall be protected from development and activities that would preclude or hinder their expansion or continued use," end quote. Furthermore, Section 2.5.2.5 of the provincial policy statement notes that development on and adjacent to known deposits of mineral aggregate resources shall only be permitted if the resource would not be feasible, the proposed land use or development serves a greater long-term public interest, and the issues of public health, safety, and environmental impacts are addressed. This is further supported in Section 5.10.7.
Excuse
Oh.
me.
Yeah.
Just hang on a moment. I'm going to recluse myself from this discussion.
So this is further supported in Section 5.10.7 of the Trent Lakes official plan. The proposed quarry to the north reflects the area's long-term public interest of the lands identified as mineral aggregate resources, whereas additional residential lots in the area may hinder future expansion of these quarries and impact the long-term public interest of the quarry operations. Though an environmental impact study has been carried out in support of the application, no aggregate study is available to support the proposed severance. To answer several questions brought to my attention in the last several days, to the best of my knowledge, severance applications with the intent of creating residential lots were granted in the area prior to the approval of the most recent official plan. The most recent severances I've come across to grant residential plots on Ledge Road were dated prior to the creation of Schedule C in 2009. All other severances dated in recent years were not intended to create additional residential lots, but rather recreational hunt camps, which is not defined as a sensitive land use as described in Section 5.1.28 of the Trent Lakes official plan, as I have earlier described. Severance file B-88-16, which was granted in 2016, was a lot line adjustment, which created no new developable lots. Severance file B-75-11, granted in 2011, prohibited any future residential and recreational development of the lands and was accompanied by a peer-reviewed aggregate study that deemed the aggregate resource insufficient for an aggregate operation. Additionally, there is no known plans to omit Schedule C from the renewed official plan, and there appears to be no basis for Schedule C to be omitted from the official plan within the next year. Planning staff have emailed the County of Peterborough to be certain, but we have not yet received confirmation. In the numerous conversations with the county concerning this severance, omitting Schedule C from the official plan was never mentioned. Staff have reviewed the application and recommend that Council does not support the proposed severance applications. Our external planning consultant, Chris Jones, is available to comment on a conversation with the County of Peterborough regarding the proposed consent applications as well as Schedule C. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for your report. Yes, thank you. Did anyone? Yes.
Thank you to you, Deputy Mayor. Sarah, thank you very much for doing the due diligence on those questions. I think those were important to understand as background to this application. I guess the only remaining one is the level of confidence that we have in the accuracy of Schedule C. And I only raise that not because I'm an expert in this area, but because I know that we have had some issues regarding the schedule identifying wetlands in our municipality. So maybe that's something you or Chris could comment on. Again, it was how confident are we that Schedule C is accurate.
So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Armstrong, the issue of accuracy is it's something I took a look at yesterday just to sort of cross-reference the provincial resource mapping. And when it comes to, council's aware that when it comes to aggregate resources, whether they are consolidated, i.e. bedrock, or unconsolidated, i.e. sand and gravel, basically the reference information or the reference point for what ultimately appears in official plan and zoning documents is what's known as the ARIP, the Aggregate Resources Inventory paper, which is essentially prepared on a county by county or regional basis. So I did take a look at the ARIP for this part of the world. It's actually been recently, I think, updated or consolidated because it's very recent. It's 2019. I'm used to these documents, sometimes 1970s, 1980s, which isn't. I was born in the 70s, so that's not that long ago. But to just to get to the question, which is, can we rely on it? That feature that you see where these lots are proposed, that sort of peach colored polygon, together with sort of the other areas around it, and essentially that peach color is referencing the primary consolidated or bedrock formations of significance. And so those features certainly show up in the ARIP paper. Council has likely heard the references before to the Gull River Formation and the Bobcaygeon Formation, which is the sort of the geological description for these particular consolidated bedrock areas. And I'm sure, again, from other applications, Council is aware that these particular formations, Bobcaygeon and Gull River, are actually have actually sort of proven to be sort of the higher quality over some of their sort of other formations in the area, like the Lindsay, the Verulam, the Shadow Lake. There are other major aggregate formations, but these particular ones are sort of higher priority or higher quality. And I think all you need to do is sort of look at the extent of licensed areas around this within these formations, and I think you certainly, the licensed areas wouldn't be there if the quality of the resource wasn't good. Last comment is, so is it accurate? Yes, I believe it's accurate. But I will say, to the south of that peach area, where, so you see the star where the proposed lots are, the AREP feature actually extends right south to the shoreline. So somewhere along the way, when the official plan and Schedule C was prepared, there had to be some consideration or reconciliation as to why the southern portion of the formation didn't make it into Schedule C. But to me, that's neither here nor there. That upper portion certainly is there, together with the other sort of pertinent areas around it. And we could do an overlay, and I think what you would find is they are pretty close.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Windover. One of the items that I can't remember the exact section was, is the resource feasible? Well, is the resource feasible for extraction on that piece of property? Well, we are so close to several other recreation or permitted residential dwellings. I don't think it's feasible to extract that resource on that piece of property. So I think we've created our own loop here that we've as a municipality have permitted other structures up and down both sides of that ledge road area. So does that make it not feasible to extract minerals from that location or not? I'm not sure.
Chris, you got it?
And I can respond to that, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through to Councillor Lambshead. I can't give you a definitive answer as to, but you raise a good point. the language of the PPS, the operative language when it comes to developing, whether it's lot creation or just sort of non-aggregate land uses or potential sensitive uses, the PPS doesn't set up an absolute prohibition. It's not like a provincially significant wetland. It does set out some criteria, but it ultimately reconciling or addressing or justifying those criteria, it's not the municipality's position. It's not council's position per se. It is the proponent's requirement. And that's, council certainly has seen similar justification reports that have been prepared for areas adjacent to active operations or licensed areas. And again, this is just provincial policy statement direction. And but I would sort of caution against just sort of reconciling the policy on your own terms. I think that's something that ultimately needs to be justified by an expert.
And just to follow that up, Chris, through you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
I think the next step in my very limited knowledge of this would be an aggregate study to find out whether there is feasibility of an extraction site there, or so I think that would be a next step to my reading.
So I can, Mr. Deputy Mayor,
Yeah,
if that's
go ahead.
council's preference to defer on this and provide the applicant with an opportunity to address that PPS requirement, council certainly has the discretion to just hold off on this at this point. At a staff level, we are functioning as an agency and responding to Land Division Committee's request for comments on an application. So it's not necessarily our role per se to be advising land division to be setting aside applications. But if that's council's preference, then we can pass that information along.
Would you like to make a motion?
Through you, that would certainly be my preference. We're not in an open public part of our meeting, so I have a difficult time communicating with the landowner. But I think if we could make that a request that they do a aggregate study, that might give us information.
Answer, Chris? Did you want to answer to that, Chris? Answer that?
Well, I just don't want to get outside of the procedures that we're supposed to be taking.
Well, it's again, I think the understanding. I'm understanding Councillor Lamsted's position or response here, and so again, if it's council's preference to defer making a decision on this particular MAF on these applications at this juncture to allow the applicant to pursue a process to address that provincial policy statement requirement, then certainly council can do that.
Did anyone want to make that motion that we do that?
I would really like to make that motion that we ask whatever, I can't remember their names, to get if they're willing, to get an aggregate study to address some of these concerns that we have.
Second, yes.
I would second that, but I might suggest an amendment. Rather than specify an aggregate study, perhaps use Chris's terminology, which is a process. Engage in a process to address the questions raised about the feasibility of extracting aggregate resources on that piece of property. Would that be acceptable?
Absolutely acceptable.
Okay, then
So
I would second it.
they make a motion on that? Approve that? Anyone in favor? Yes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chris. Thanks. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, sir.
So no reports from finance. Administration.
We're on item 10.4.4, which is another consent application.
Oh, sorry. Sarah, are you there still?
Yes, ma'am. Through you, Madam Mayor. On today's agenda, there's a municipal appraisal form for consent file B-127-21 submitted by agent Garnet Kent on behalf of the owner Stag Properties, Inc. The subject land is located at 995 County Road 507. The application conforms to the official plan, as the intent of the severance is to create an easement in favor of the neighboring parcel located at 965 County Road 507. The easement is being pursued due to a buried electrical line that runs across 995 County Road 507, which was installed prior to the land being sold to Stag Properties Incorporated. Staff have reviewed the application and recommend that council supports the proposed severance under the condition that an agreement is entered into between the applicant and the municipality and registered on title at the applicant's expense, which would accurately reflect the location of the buried electrical line. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got questions or comments? Are you ready for it? Yes.
Make a motion to approve that as recommended.
Okay, that was Councillor Lambshead is approving it. Seconder, please. Councillor Armstrong, all in favor? Motion is carried. Finance, none. Administration, none. Corporate services, Ann Ruth, please. Council expenses.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Clarkson. This report brings forward council expenses for the month of November and the remainder of October for council's consideration and approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion, please. Councillor Franson and Councillor.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence for information. Does anybody want to pull anything out, or can we have one motion for all, please?
Yes, Mayor, could we pull out 11.1? I just have a couple of questions about that.
Yes, would you like to speak to it, please?
Sure. My question is, throughout this transition of Kawartha Region Conservation Authority adapting to the latest legislative changes, my question is, who will be the interface or the contact person in Trent Lakes who will work with them on this? And secondly, does the transition plan require or include council involvement? And I don't know if anybody knows the answer to those, but those two popped up when I was looking at it.
Ron, do you have any insight in that?
Not really, no.
Okay. Because I think you attend a lot of those.
Pardon?
I say you attend a lot of those.
Oh, I think, yeah, well, the meetings, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody on staff care to comment on that? Nope. Shall we go through with our, yes.
Through you, I believe Barb is on and she may be able to answer your question.
Barb, are you there?
I am here. I'm just kind of reading it here myself. Is Sarah still on? Because her and I talked about a project that we're going to do with the Conservation Authority next year to try to bring them more in the fold, to have more comment on planning applications and situations that arise out there in areas across the township, because we don't have a great deal of our municipality that's covered by the Conservation Authority. We have a lot of lands that have unevaluated wetlands on them. So Sarah and I did discuss earlier this week that she was going to work with Adele and I on working with the Conservation Authority to renegotiate the memorandum of understanding to have a little bit more assistance for the municipality. And I'm not sure if that's what this is, so I apologize.
No, my apologies for catching you kind of unaware. And I don't need an answer right now, but it sounds like you're headed in the right direction. And if you could just provide council with an update at a future council meeting, that would be just fine.
Okay, so now we have, you're going to second it then, will you? Because I think Councillor Lamb said you,
I would just make a motion to receive at this point.
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, sorry.
So not to receive all correspondence or information or just that one?
If we can receive all of them at this point, still.
but I thought we already had a motion to receive, but we were looking for the seconder when Carol had a question.
Do you? I don't recall anyone proposing a motion to receive.
Okay, all right. So Carol, you're going to make a motion to
Motion to receive
receive.
all.
We need a seconder then?
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor Lingover, all in favor? That motion is carried. Correspondence for action, City of Kitchener conversion therapy. Motion, please.
Councillor Francis.
I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, sorry, I was missing you there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a motion in support
Okay,
because I think that's an important issue. There's a lot of people that are traumatized by the conversion therapies.
okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lamset. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Peter. City of Kitchener fire safety measures. Do we have a motion one way or the other? Councillor Armstrong.
Motion to receive.
Yeah. Second that.
Seconder, Councillor Windover, all in favor? That motion is carried. City of St. Catharines National Child Care Program. We need a motion.
A motion in support.
Okay.
Janet?
Yep. That was Councillor Franson. Seconder. Councillor Lamset, are you seconding or
Yes,
comment?
I'm seconding.
Okay, all in favor? Motion is carried. Township of Mulmer, Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. Councillor Armstrong?
Yeah, a motion, I think we're all in favor of truth and reconciliation. A motion to receive because this is very, very specific to this municipality.
Agree.
Councillor or Deputy Mayor Windover?
Yeah.
Seconder, all in favor? Motion carried. Bylaws. Jesse, you're going to speak to this, please?
Thank you. Through you, there were two bylaws on today's agenda that didn't have a corresponding public meeting or staff report. The first is B 2021-133, which is a zoning bylaw amendment for file 2120 for the BCC. And this was supported through a public meeting held on September 7th, 2021. And B 2021-134 is the bylaw to authorize the execution of a site plan development agreement for the same file.
Okay, and we don't need a motion for those. B 2021 extension of CIP programs. Councillor.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. All, seconder, please. Councillor Armstrong, all in favor? Motion is carried. Zoning bylaw, file number 2021 for the Buckhorn Community Center. Deputy Councillor Lamset.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
We've had a
seconder,
public meeting.
please. Councillor Franson, all in favor? Thank you. 2021-134 site plan agreement for the Buckhorn Community Center.
Motion to approve this. It's nice
Okay.
to see site plan agreement.
Okay, that's Councillor Lamset. Deputy Mayor Windover,
Yeah.
all in favor? Motion is approved. Business rising out of a previous meeting. We got any hands there? Nope. Notice of motion. Councillor Armstrong, would you like to introduce your notice of motion, please? And
I
get a
would.
second?
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. Interestingly enough, council has not really had an opportunity to discuss the recommendations that came out of the sports pet feasibility study. We've heard from BCC, we've heard from Parks and Rec, we've heard from a number of delegates, but we amongst ourselves have not really had much opportunity to discuss it. So you'll recall that at the last meeting on the fly, I suggested that we direct planning staff to take a look at what additional requirements would be involved for the three recommendations that the feasibility study put forward. And I'd like to readdress that because I don't know if council really is thinking that we should be looking at all three of those recommendations. So I wanted for us to determine, if we can, whether we are seriously considering all three. And the three include refrigerating the existing rink and sports pad. The second one is tearing up the existing rink and building an NHL size rink, but will be outdoor. And that's a price tag of about $3 million to $4 million. The third option was to tear down the existing rink and build an NHL size rink that would be indoor and more like an arena, which would have a price tag of somewhere to $7 to $9 million. So the hypothesis I'm putting forward is that council is really only concerned with looking at, and all of these are on site at the BCC because that was the scope of the feasibility study, to look at options that could be implemented on the BCC site. So let me put the hypothesis forward that council is only interested in looking at the first option, which is taking the rink as it currently exists and putting in a refrigeration unit and all of the other accessories that would be required to make that operational. So I'd like to open up that discussion. I'm not presuming that's where we're at, but I want to understand. Are we entertaining all three options? Are we only entertaining one at this stage? So I'd like for us to have some conversation and see if we can narrow down the options or at least focus on the ones that are of interest to pursuing by council.
Councillor Lamson.
Yeah, I think from comments that were made during that meeting and previously, and I think the option A1 is the only option that's suitable for that site that would be supported likely. So I think when we're dealing with staff time, I think option A1 would be the one I would prefer to explore, which is same size with the refrigeration. I think when we get that finished, we'll have some more information that might make decisions easier for how to proceed.
Should we ask if we, is are they actually approve, will they approve this? Like that's, we spend money that is not going to be even.
Barb, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
My understanding at the last meeting was when you have time, probably the first of the new year, you will look at that site and see if it's even feasible to put the same thing with the washrooms, with the change rooms, which are not on this #1 plan. The change rooms weren't put in any of them. And whether or not the baseball diamond is suitable because of there being a wetland, and whether or not the community center is willing to give that up.
Yes.
It's so specific. When we put the information out the last time, and I went to Dylan and said, but we didn't ask those three questions. And he said, well, you didn't direct us to. So I think to Carol's motion, we want to be really, really specific to the information we want to come back.
If I may, Madam Mayor, the second part of our motion was requesting BCC to identify the information, what did they need to let us know whether they were prepared to, and I would like to change the wording of seed, to agree to provide additional land. So I think that's a BCC thing. Barb's responsibility was really around taking a look at the options and determining additional requirements. And all I'm trying to do here is determine whether we want Barb to proceed researching all three options, or do we as a council, have we already in our own minds decided to focus only on the refrigeration option of the existing rink? And I think
that's what Councilor Lamson was suggesting, is,
Yeah.
which I would agree with, that I think we should put our focus on that one as the one viable option and the one that might be acceptable moving to the public moving forward.
With the addition of change rooms.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Because
But you're still talking refrigeration, not tearing it down and putting in a new NHL size rink.
That's always been a dream.
So if that's the case,
Councilor Franzen has a question.
Yeah, a question and comment. I certainly agree with Terry. The only thing that is going to be acceptable is maintaining the ice surface the size it is now. But this motion in no way said that council endorses that. I think we have to have our public meetings before there's any endorsement from council. I don't want it misunderstood that this is the direction that council is going.
if I may, absolutely fair. The motion, notice of motion only amends the previous motion, which directs planning staff to identify additional requirements for one or more options that we're here to decide. And then ask the BCC to give us a firmer answer on what they're willing to agree to in terms of additional land.
Terry, do you want to,
That was you.
Councilor Lambshead, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think if we focus on, like, we're talking about hours and hours of staff time. I think if we focus on one, or A1, which is refrigerated, the existing size, I think all the other answers will kind of fall into place, whether or not this will fit. We have to have all the associated things we need. We'll need an area for water to be reserved for sprinklers. We'll need change rooms. We'll need Zamboni room. We need, there's a whole bunch of associated things that will have to come with this, an updated septic most likely. So I think that will all come to our knowledge if we get our staff to investigate even A1, which is the refrigerated permanent ice on the same location, same size.
Did you have a comment too?
No,
Everyone all right with that? Do we understand all that?
yeah.
So perhaps I could read what the motion would say as amended, and then see if we have a second and go forward. So the suggestion is that the motion would now read that council direct building and planning staff to thoroughly review the Buckhorn Sports Pad feasibility study and report back to council on the issues that need to be addressed to move ahead with scenario A1, outdoor artificial ice with permanent ice system at the existing size, along with the status quo. And further, and the rest would remain the same, except that we would change the word to cede any land necessary to say to agree to provide additional lands as necessary. Did it on the fly. The word cede is a little strong.
Well, I think it's necessary because if they're not willing to do that, it's game over. And we've spent a lot of money now just tiptoeing around it. And we're no further ahead than when they were asked to do the study. The study did not answer those three questions: parking, septic, and well, those are the two main ones, and BCC. Those are the three.
Yeah. Like through you, I think this kind of gets us to those steps.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, we've got somebody here wanting to comment.
I was going to comment that it was just the last part of it. What I wrote down here was to enter into an agreement on any land necessary to expand the facility.
I would
Just
accept
to
that.
clarify the last part where it previously said seed. But we do have to enter into an agreement with the BCC.
I would accept that amendment.
I will second the amendment as recommended or as changed. We have a second.
Okay.
Everybody all right with that? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. See where we go with this one. Are there any other notices of motion? I heard Santa Claus was coming. Liaison reports from external boards. Anybody got anything nice to say? I don't see anybody.
One little comment.
Okay.
I am amazed at the scope of work that is going to be taken on by PRCAC in regards to the heritage stuff in this municipality. It's something we've been completely lacking in documenting and keeping care of, and we've left it to people to do it on their own almost. And I think it's time that we take some responsibility for all of that information and items that we really should have been looking after for a long, long time. Thank you to the group.
I agree with what you're saying, Councillor Lambshead. But I think, again, it's the same thing as the rink. I think it's got to be prioritized. If you look at that great big package, you can't even imagine getting your head around it. The first thing they need is location. You can't put all of your stuff into storage units anywhere because it'll be no different than it is right now. So the prioritization, getting a place for it, these are the things that have to be looked at, because there's a lot of people have a lot of information stored that can be gotten a hold of pretty quick. That old school outside of Buckhorn should be utilized for something. Any other information items? Okay, we're going into a closed meeting to discuss personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations, or employee right negotiations. Anyone that is listening or viewing the electronic meeting may remain on the line for when council rises from the closed session. We need a motion to go into closed. Councillor Armstrong and Councillor Williamson, all in favor. Motion is carried. You have a motion to come out of closed. Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Lambshead, all in favor? Away we go. Do we have any business arising from the closed meeting? I don't think so. From the regular closed meeting of December the 7th? Nope. Get motion to adopt closed meeting minutes in the second for the 2nd of December.
Sure.
Councillor Armstrong and Deputy Mayor Windover. Confirm.
Call for the vote.
Oh, sorry. All in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. Adoption of confirming bylaw and the confirming bylaw. Motion, please. Okay, Councillor Lambshead, Councillor Franzen, all in favor? Motion is carried. Motion to adjourn. We go home and put our cookies and milk for Santa. Deputy Mayor Windover, and Councillor Lamshead. All in favor? So we won't see anybody now between now and